back to another video about a children's trading card game. I'm on a roll with these uploads. I have done way more in the last few weeks than I have in quite some time. Today we're going to be talking about some more Set 2 card reveals. This set is looking amazing, guys. I'm really excited for it. It looks like it's going to be pretty impactful on the format. Let's go ahead and get started with the reveal. So first we have Toshigi for black. This is a 3-drop 5k slash character. We know 3-drop 5ks, it's like, well, it's that one format anyway. That's the bar for sort of being quite relevant in terms of threatening leaders, though obviously with white being around, who knows. Don 1 on attack, reduce the cost of up to one of your opponent's characters by 3 during this turn. So obviously that's a very powerful effect. You are paying for it though, so this doesn't have any counter, so okay, that's not fantastic. And it is a when attacking, so you know we have the same issue which we saw with Okiku, where it was very strong on like actual release and people were playing it, but then Okiku fell off quite hard, as that basically became like a pretty hefty negative. The fact that you didn't have counter and that you had to attack with it, like you had this whole like, and you have to don up obviously. The don is less of a big deal, but you know the fact that you have to commit like a whole turn in a whole turn in advance. Now that may not be true with Toshigi. This is a very powerful effect, but because you know this is making Akainu live, like almost like on in early game, like on anything really cheap, though don't necessarily want to be using Akainu early on. But in the other options, right, like if we look at, for example, purple in the Z deck, I think this would be quite nice because that is going to let you delete some very large things. And this is probably less playable in the Garp deck because Garp, obviously, why would I spend 3 Don on this when I could just spend 3 Don on like donning up my Garp? And I achieve the same thing, right? I don't have to wait a turn. So I think this is a card where, like, in Garb in particular, this is not going to see any play, but potentially in some of the other black builds, and in particular, potentially Zed. But still, we'll have to see. Okay, next we've got Curly Dadan. So this is a 2-drop 3k. This has 1k counter, okay? On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 red card at the cost of 1 or less, and add it to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order and the 1k counter. So this is a really interesting one. How good is this? Arguably, this is very nice in lore. However, I mean, we have Gordon at the moment, and I feel like I would rather just play Gordon over this card because, you know, like, okay, yeah, it is top 5, so you probably wouldn't whiff with the sheer quantity of 1-drops you are playing, in theory, but I mean, it has to be red. This is the thing that gets me, right? Like, a lot of the 1-drops you play in lore right now are green, and unless that changes, I don't think this is gonna see a great deal of play, though, of course, you know, we still have to see the entire set, and I will say, like, with that in mind, this is absolutely one where it's like, just keep an eye, you know, like, this is a card that may be very powerful in lore in particular. Okay, then we have got Mino Koala, and this is the first of these, like, Impel Down cards, which, interesting. So this is an Impel Down Jailer Beast blocker. On KO, if your leader has Impel Down as a type, add 1 Don card from your Don deck and rest it, and 1k counter. I think this is really bad, because the only leader with Impel Down is Magellan, and I truly think Magellan is up there as one of the worst leaders in the game. So okay, yes, if you just want to build an Impel Down deck, like, fine, yeah, this is, you know, this is good in Impel Down. How good is Impel Down? I think not good at all in purple. In blue, blue might have some potential. But in purple, yeah, no. Also, this isn't like a particularly good effect. Okay, yeah, fine, it's a 4-drop 5k blocker that gives you a Don, but like, we have ways to gain Don in purple, you know, like, because we just don't play an Impel Down leader, we just play like I would much rather play Onigashima than this, because I get it every turn, I only have to do it once, and I can just play like better cards. So yeah, I don't know, I don't think this is very good. Maybe Magellan will end up being pretty crazy with enough support, but I doubt it. And we got Sadie here, so this is a 3-drop 3k, really bad stats. On play up to 1 character with the Jailer Beast type from your hand, and a 2k counter. So 2k counter, instantly 4 of in that deck. And if any of the Jailer Beasts, because obviously we know there are 3, I believe it's 3 or 4, if any of basically these guys end up being really relevant, then okay, alright, cool. Sadie might be actually quite useful outside of that, but at the moment, you know, this... If we ignore this on KO text, right, like what have we got here? We've got a combo between this 3-drop and this 4-drop that basically if you get both in your hand, you play this card, you get out a 4-drop 5k for free. But this is kind of a worthless card, so unless you have a way to get it back to your hand to use it for the 2k counter, that's not amazing, and you kind of need to be getting that bounce for free anyway, because otherwise why wouldn't you just play this? Like, it's not like this is a body where it's like so nice to get it onto the board that you're like, okay, cool, like this is really good. So I feel like you will be playing this, but only because it's a 2k counter, and we'll see what the other JLBs do, but at the moment I'm like, okay, I don't really see much point. Then we got a vanilla, this will not see play. Okay, then we got the SR Magellan, and this is where I was like, interesting. So this is a 5-drop 6k, good stats. On play, Impel down. On play, Don -1, so this will trigger Magellan. Your opponent returns one of their Dons on the field to their Don deck. So in Magellan, this also gains 1k. Alright, fine. In everything else, this still works. Now, I believe, because it says your opponent returns, you don't get to tell them which one, like they get to choose. So this is probably not something that's going to counter like leaving Dons active. So that's something to bear in mind. During your opponent's turn, when this character is KO'd, your opponent returns 2 of their Dons on the field to their Don deck. Now, I really like that. I think the important thing to bear in mind is this is going to be really, really good against some decks and really, really bad against others. What do I mean by that? Okay, so against purple decks, which are kind of already actively using their negative Dons to get themselves down to 8 Dons, like on a lot of turns, because you get 2 every turn, right? So once you hit turn 5 and you've got 10, you can start doing Don -1, Don -2 like crazy, because you're getting them back, right? You can even Don -3 or Don -4, because it's only really setting you back a little bit. It's when you do Don minuses early in the game where it's setting you back so horrendously that it's not worth it. Which is why, if you play this on curve on turn 3, and you swing with it turn 4, your opponent just kind of has to leave it there. Because on turn 4, your opponent's going to be on 8 Don, and they don't want to be set back to 6 Don, because then they'll be on 8 Don again, and you're on 10 Don. And suddenly, you're purple on 10 Don, that's very, very scary. You don't want to be set back. So, in a way, this is against every deck, right? If you play this on curve, they kind of just have to let it be. Against purple, even off curve, this is actually something quite nice. This is something that threatens their ability for their deck to function how they want it to. And with that in mind, I think this is going to be a really powerful meta call. As and when purple becomes very popular, this is something purple decks will play to counter purple. Outside of that, I think it's like a card that's decent, but it's not, crazy. It doesn't like do anything so broken. I will say, obviously, like the on play is obviously like also something to be considered, right? Because that does affect the maths. And even setting your opponent back that 1 Don while you're slightly ahead can really screw with them, right? Like if you're first, you play this on your 5 Don, and you're willing to take Don minus, or you play this when you're on your turn 5 and you go down to 8, that'll set your opponent going down to 9, which maybe will screw with their whole idea of what they were going to do with that turn. It's possible that this will be really, really annoying and really, really disruptive, and especially if you play 2 of them on the same turn, like that can be really, really annoying. Especially against purple. So I think this is a really interesting card. I don't think it's broken. It certainly reads like it should be, but like when you factor all this in, like it's not. But I think it is very powerful, and I am excited to make use of it. That is for sure. And then we got the alt art, which looks clean. Okay, then we got a card I'm way more excited about. This is a card that I'm very, very excited about. Okay, Judgment of Hell. 2-drop purple event. Counter Don -1. Up to 2 of your opponent's leader or characters gain -3k power for the turn. Trigger, if your opponent has 6 or more Don, your opponent returns one of their Don deck. So, okay, whatever. The trigger, it's almost never going to happen, doesn't matter. The counter, this is essentially getting 6k worth of guarding ability, worth of counter ability for 2, which is, 50% more than what you usually get. Reminder, from turn 5, which is realistically when you would be using, like, 2-drop one of these counters, you don't care about the Don minus because you're just going to get it back. This is a card that Blurple Croc, and there's another card we're going to come to with Blurple Croc as well, is going to love and is going to instantly throw in, because I think this is really good. And I think purple in general, this is really, really nice, right? Like, you can play this earlier on in the game. If you're up against Rush, this is a way to disrupt that, right? Like -3k, if they're not literally call attack, call attack, call attack, call attack, like they're not literally swinging like that, then this is something that's going to disrupt their whole game plan. And, even if for 1 turn, sure, but then they'll have things on the board. So this is something that's going to give you value. And this is, just really, really nice, right? With really disrupting your opponent's turn when they've committed to something. And, you know, minus 3k power is, like, hefty, right? Like, you know, that's 7k, where, like, suddenly that's not enough, and 7k is big. So, yeah, I don't know, I'm a really big fan of this card. I guess we will need to, like, test it out to see exactly how good it is, but my inclination is it's going to be quite good. Then we have got Vista. 3-drop 3k on play, K up to one of your opponent's characters with 3000 power or less, 1k counter. I think this is going to be a really great lore card, again. In general, you know, a 3-drop 3k is not very good. You know, the stats are very bad. The ability is good, but 3k power is fairly limited. Like, generally you're going to be hitting, like, weenies and chumps and stuff, or stuff you've actively reduced the power of, which, hey, lore is actually a deck that can really take advantage of that, because you can spam your Otamas, because you can use, like, Knights of the Round Table or something, right? This is another card in addition to Robin, which is giving you that ability to really slow the pace of the game and control your opponent's board. And it's cheap. It's 3-drop, right? Like, in lore, that's great. So I think, you know, I'm very, very happy this card exists for lore. I think lore's going to really like this, but outside of that, kind of whatever. Synergizes with Marco, obviously, so you can pitch it with Marco, but whatever. Okay, then we have got Squad. So this is Whitebeard Pirate Subordinates. This still works with Marco, by the way. It's anything with Whitebeard Pirates, basically. So this is a 3-drop 5k, okay? On play, if your leader has Whitebeard Pirates and its types, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 4k power for the turn, add the top card from your life area to your hand. So this is a card where, at the moment, I think it's completely useless, and I wouldn't play it, but in the future, this may be a card which we go back and we think, like, oh, this is outing something very, very important, right? Because, so, in set 2, it's looking like Green Kid is going to fall off hard. Like 8-drop Kid is going to fall off hard. So, assuming that does, then this doesn't really have a place in the format at the moment, from what we've seen. Obviously, if you were just to insert this into the set 1 format, this would instantly see play. Because, yes, I will happily lose 1 life to just deal with a kid, right? Like, just straight up, okay, it's gone. Like, I don't care. Like, I've reduced it to 4k. Everything I have is hitting over it. It's doing functionally nothing. My opponent, it's making my opponent's day horrendous. Yes, worth it, 100%. So, if we get more of those kind of threats, which you just have to hit over, this is going to be good. If we get something with the equivalent of Soul Guard, right, like where you have to destroy them multiple times, this is going to be really, really good. So, it is a complete meta piece, and at the moment, I do not see a place in the puzzle for this card, but, you know, potentially in the future we may. Okay, then we got Kazuki Toki. This is an interesting one. So 1-drop, 0 power, Wano Country Kazuki family, so Wano Country, obviously. That's very synergistic with Momo. 1k counter, if you control a Kazuki Odin character, this character gains blocker. So this does count Yamato as a Kazuki Odin, which obviously means we're going to be getting a Kazuki Odin character in the set. It is weird to me this doesn't include the leader. I don't think there would have been anything necessarily that game-breaking about giving Odin a 1-drop blocker. So, you know, I'm not really sure as to why this card exists. I think I'm gonna have to see Odin. Like, right, like at the moment, like I'm just judging this in isolation. I was like, okay, what if Odin, like, you know, literally searches this card, or like lets you play like cheap cards from your hand, discount or something, right? Like, so you know, in that scenario, like if you really want to be protecting Odin, okay, this could be worth it. But otherwise, is it just like a 1-drop you could play in something where you just need to, like, you could throw this into lore, potentially. I would not recommend it. There's lots of other 1-drops I would rather play. But this is a thing you could do. Okay, then we got Dogstorm. 3-drop 4k. 4k is a little annoying. It does have a 1k counter. Ming Tri, Wano Country, 9 red scabbards, good attributes. If all your Don are arrested, this cannot leave the field due to your opponent's effects. Okay. It's a 3-drop 4k, so do I really care if it can't leave? If this was a 5k, I'd be like, interesting, that might be worth it. But again, 4k, you're going to have to constantly commit to making it hit something. So I don't know how good that's going to be. It could be quite nice, though. This one I feel like I'm going to have to try out, especially in this Kinemon deck, because this does hit that threshold, and if you're playing this for 2, well, then it's like, you know, vanilla tier stats, right? So it's like, okay, well, you know, yes, it's not, you know, yeah, it's a 2-drop vanilla, effectively, but it has an effect. It's a pretty good effect. So we'll need to see. And then we come on to today's reveals. So we have got Boa Hancock. This is a 4-drop 5k. Impel down, 7 Maulers and Singing Creature Pirate. So all very relevant traits there. 1k counter. When attacking, draw 1 card, draft 1 card from your hand, then trash up to 3 cards from your hand. So let's start off with ignoring that last bit there. Draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand. Instantly, I'm like, okay, this is just a generic, decent blue card. 4-drop 5k, you know, a little expensive, you know, okay, 3 would be nicer, but you get a counter for that extra cost there. It's not, you know, crazy expensive by any means. This works well in Doflamingo. This works well in, you know, basically you could see this in any blue deck. And unlike Mihawk, because this is the thing I've been seeing everyone go, well, why wouldn't you just play Mihawk? Yo, you play both. You don't not play Mihawk in place of this. You play Mihawk anyway. It's a 2k counter. You're playing for Mihawk. That's a given. Now we're looking at the rest of your 46 cards. And this, I think, is probably worth being one of the rest of the 46 cards, depending on the list. Especially, I think this is a Doffy like instant inclusion, because there are a few cards in that deck which are just like whatever, like you're kind of forced to play. This is one where I think I'd be very happy. This doesn't care about hand size. You're going to be able to get that filter. If we gain any cards that like do something when trashed, suddenly this is going to be really, really good. And then, yeah, I think this is just a nice, generic, like, pretty good card. Probably easy play in Doflamingo, and definitely an easy play in Impel Down. Why? Because you can just nuke your entire hand of events, right? Realistically, this is just to clear your hand out of events, so you can trigger Ivankov's effect. Cool. And yeah, I think this is pretty good in Impel Down. And then finally we got this card, and this is clearly an Impel Down card, but I think it's actually better than something else. So this is Gum Gum Rain, 0 cost blue event. Interesting. Impel Down, Straw Hat Pirates. Counter, you may trash one card from your hand. If you do, the colon means if you do in Bandai speak. I was unaware of this. So when I first read this card, my mind was reeling from how insane it was. But no, you have to pay that cost. Fine. Up to one of your characters or leaders gains 3k power for this battle. The trigger bounces a level 2 or a 2 cost or less third hand. Whatever. Don't care about the trigger. This is a free event. Pitch a card, 3k. That's insane. In Blurple Croc. Blurple Croc is looking at this going, right, so I get to play this for free. Yeah, I lose a card, but I draw a card. I'm drawing a card, so why do I care, right? Like, Blurple Croc, instant 4 of, and, you know, this is salvageable, I believe, with Missile Sunday. I think as Missile Sunday gets back any event, so you can literally just keep getting it back. Yeah, instant 4 of Blurple Croc, probably an instant 4 of an Impel Down as well, but, like, yeah, I mean, this is great. This is amazing. Yeah. Yeah, super stable. And there we go. That's it for this week's card reveals. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of the card in the comment section down below. Are you excited for set 2? As an update on what is going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks, I've got a few more of these guides on building your decks for the deck limited battle format. If you haven't seen my content on that already, you should check it out. It'll probably be there somewhere. I'm going to be hopefully getting some match videos as well out for you. And then there's obviously going to be more card reveals and deck profiles and stuff, and I'll be covering the winning limited deck battle decks to talk about those and see if there's any particularly interesting things they did there or anything particularly surprising. Probably won't be, but we'll see. If you are interested in that, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel to be notified, bell or whatever. Also, if you are interested in Gate Ruler, Battle Spirits or Lorcana, I make videos on those too, so subscribe for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.